Hello, welcome to the post-secondary planning video that we've made to help seniors and their families plan for senior year and beyond. It probably seems just like yesterday you were leaving to start kindergarten and now you're ending your high school career. Some of you are going into the workforce. Some of you are going to go into the military. Some of you have decided to go to college, a university, or a trade school. Are you ready for the next step? We're here to help you. Welcome to the Parent and Student Senior Meeting. We want to give you a lot of information to help your transition from high school to your post-secondary plans as smooth as possible. We want to talk to you about making a FAFSA account, your Bright Futures account. We want you to also know that it's okay right now if you don't know what your next step is, and it's okay if you change your mind later. There's no right or wrong. There's only a right or wrong for you. We want to prepare you for as many options as possible for when you graduate. There's a lot of choices you have when you graduate. Some people plan to go into the military. Some are going to go straight into the workforce. Others want to go to a community college. Some are going to go to a technical or trade college. Some of you want to go to a 4-year university. Some of you really don't know. Best practices is that we prepare you for as many opportunities as possible. We want to make sure that you know that from October 1st on, you can make your applications for the FAFSA and for the Bright Futures. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, and Bright Futures is a scholarship for in-state tuition with qualifying GPA and test scores. If you don't need these when you graduate, there's no harm that you have the account made. But if you do end up needing them and you don't have the account made, it could be too late. For instance, the Bright Futures Scholarship is good for 5 years. So we ask all seniors to make these 2 accounts just so that they're prepared. So what is the FAFSA? The FAFSA is free application for federal student aid. The student and the parent make an account. Based on the parent's income, the schools use this as a formula to determine how much financial aid that you can get. All colleges, universities, trade, technical schools require it and will expect that you have a FAFSA account. Even if you expect that you're going to pay all tuition because maybe your family has a very high income, go ahead and do the FAFSA now because many scholarships will depend on it. For instance, in February or March, we're going to offer you the PEF scholarship application, Polk Education Foundation. Many businesses, clubs, individuals have scholarships that they offer to Polk County students, and you have to fill out an application, and part of the application is the STAR page from your FAFSA account. So you definitely want to make sure that you have your FAFSA made by then. When you make your FAFSA account, you're going to hear back a confirmation email. That's going to have your EFC, your expected family contribution, in that email. That's the formula that they use determines the amount that they think that you can pay each year for college. Bright Futures is a state scholarship in Florida. If you graduate from a Florida high school and plan to go to a college in Florida, you may earn the Bright Futures scholarship. The student is going to earn it with their GPA and test scores, so the parents don't have to make an account. The student needs to make the account. If you have a lot of scholarships, some people say that the Bright Future Scholarship actually gets returned to them in cash while they're in college. You must take the ACT or the SAT before June 30th of your graduation year. This scholarship is good for 5 years. You must maintain a certain GPA to keep the scholarship, and there's 3 different types, 2 for university and 1. The Florida Academic Scholarship will pay full tuition at a state school. You have to have a 3.5 cumulative GPA, that's weighted. You'll either need a 29 or higher on the ACT or a 1330 or higher on the SAT. You need 100 community service hours. Private schools typically cost more than the state schools do, so it's going to be about $3,500 a year that Bright Futures contributes to the tuition at a private school. The Florida Medallion Scholarship pays 75% of your tuition. It requires a 3.0 weighted GPA, at least a 1210 on the SAT, at least 25 on your ACT, and you need 75 community service hours. Some people choose to get a technical degree or go to a trade or technical school. The Gold Seal Vocational Scholarship requires a PERT, ACT, or SAT score, not quite as high as what's expected for the Medallion or the Academic Scholarship. It requires 30 community service hours. It requires 3.0 in your core academic classes. That's your math, English, science, and history. It requires a 3.5 in your CTE classes, career technical education classes. And you have to have at least 3 of those career technical education classes in the same area. For example, if you've taken Mr. Giles' cabinet making class 1, 2, and 3, that would be your 3 CTE classes. You would have need to have had an average of a 3.5 GPA in those classes. Your core classes, you would need a 3.0. Your community service hours, you would need 30. And then to see the qualifying score that you need on the PERT, ACT, or SAT, please refer to the handout that the counselors have provided for you, or you can look on the website for Bright Futures and get all the details there. What's a merit scholarship? Well, they're based on your academic achievements in high school. And the universities are more likely to offer this based on your application, including test scores and GPA. Why? Because they want the students that have already proven that they can handle the rigorous academics with their extracurricular activities and still do well on tests. Because that's an indicator that you're going to start as a freshman and graduate as a senior in 4 years and complete your college education. When you apply, they usually look over everything to see what scholarships you're eligible for. But after you've been admitted, it never hurts to ask, what scholarships can I apply for? After you're at college, when you're a sophomore, when you're a junior, please ask in financial aid, are there other scholarships that I can apply for? You want to continue to do that as long as you can. Need-based scholarships. This is based off the FAFSA. That's going to indicate the income bracket that your family is in. For instance, Harvard and Yale and Ivy League schools have a tuition plan for students whose families make less than $65,000 a year. You don't pay tuition at those schools. Most schools have some sort of need-based scholarship to apply for, and you want to make sure that you're applying at the university as well as all the private scholarships that you can apply for. Athletic scholarships are very competitive, but very helpful for those talented athletes and cheerleaders. If they recruit you to come play and then they see your transcript and you've done very well in school, they understand that you can juggle the demands of the practice schedule with your academics. Many small schools as well will offer scholarships for athletes and cheerleaders. ROTC scholarships are very helpful. You can apply for an ROTC scholarship on the military branch's website. For instance, goarmy.com for the Army. When you have an ROTC scholarship in college, you're committing to 4 years after you graduate. West Point, Air Force Academy, these colleges are free because you are committing to service after you graduate there. All branches have ROTC, but they're not in all schools. You may have to go to a neighboring university or college to have ROTC class if it's not offered at your school. Refer to the website for the branch that you're interested in or speak to a recruiter directly. National Guard is helpful. It pays your tuition in the state that you enlist in, and you get an income while you're in college. If you combine that with ROTC, then you're not going to get deployed while you're in college. These are things that you want to talk to a recruiter about. Most families' biggest concern about college is paying for it. Some students are very diligent about looking everywhere they can to find scholarships to help them in college. There's a few companies that are free that you can make accounts with that are excellent scholarship searches. FastWeb, Chegg, and RaiseMe are 3 of these companies that you can make accounts with. We often suggest that you make a separate email account just for scholarship searches. Make sure that your parents check with their employers to see if there's a scholarship available within their company. Make sure you check with your church or your denomination to see if there's scholarships available that way. The school itself often has scholarships, the school that you're at and also the college that you're applying to. A good example, at Summerlin, the equestrian program has a scholarship. Each year they give money to a student that a family from a former equestrian student donated. You want to ask around as many people as you can about scholarships. Certain nationalities or ethnic groups qualify for certain scholarships. Certain clubs have certain scholarships. When do I apply for scholarships? Most of the scholarships are available to apply for in your senior year. There are some that you can start applying for in the 9th grade, but most of them you can apply for as a senior. You want to continue to look for scholarships the entire time that you're in college. Currently, counselors send out any scholarships we get through the district. Summerlin sends them on Remind 101, and Bartow Senior High sends them in emails and also on Schoology. Once you've been accepted to the college, make sure that you've applied for every scholarship that's available there. Simply call the financial aid department and ask them, is there anything else that you can apply for? Never be afraid to ask. State university admissions. The best thing that you can do is to go on the website of the schools that you're interested in. This is where you're going to find the requirements to apply as well as the deadlines. You're also going to get information that will help you know if you're likely to get admitted to the school that you're looking at. You're going to be able to find the incoming freshman data, or you can simply Google freshman data for University of Florida, for example. There you're going to find the average GPA and test scores of the incoming freshman group. This helps you know how likely you are to get in. They may take a very holistic approach when they're looking at your application, so no one would tell you not to apply. But if your GPA and test scores are far lower, we want to make sure that you at least have a plan B or a plan C in case you don't get in. Talented 20 is a great program from Florida. If you're in the top 20% of your class, you're guaranteed admission to a state school. Maybe not the state school that's your number one choice, but you are guaranteed admission to a state school for being in the top 20% of your school. Military enlistment is an option. You want to go straight to a recruiter and get the information directly from them. They're going to have the most up-to-date information available about enlisting in the military. If you decide that you do want to enlist, then you'll have some decisions to make. Do you want to be in reserves or guard? Do you want to do ROTC in college? Do you want to go to college and then enlist so that you can be an officer? You would have a lot of choices to make at that time, but you definitely want to speak to a recruiter to get all the up-to-date information. You need to be sure that you've taken the ASVAB score if you're interested in enlisting in the military. Each branch has a minimum ASVAB score requirement for admission. This test also determines what jobs that you're eligible to apply for. You're going to need a high school diploma to enlist in any branch of the military. If you have had at least 2 years of ROTC, you will join the military at a higher rank. How do you prepare for these tests? Well, we hope that you've been a good student because these tests are comprehensive. It's based on all the classes that you've had in high school. But you're going to use test prep, and the reason we recommend that is you may have forgotten some of your math skills from the 9th to the 10th grade, and you need to refresh those skills. You also want to make sure that you've taken the full-length practice test and more than once. Never take a test without having sat through a practice under the same circumstances as the actual test. You want to make sure that you've sat in a quiet room, uninterrupted, and timed yourself just the same as if you were taking the actual test, so that when you go in to take the actual test, it doesn't feel new. You're going to feel a lot more confident if you've already sat through these conditions a few times. What test prep should you use? There's a lot of different choices out there, but one thing that's free that we think is very effective is on collegeboard.org. You can take a practice SAT test. You can link your College Board account to a Khan Academy account, and it's going to make personalized practice for you. It's going to see where you've scored the lowest, and it's going to make sure that those areas are covered and that you are practicing those skills that you have scored lower in. When you go to ACT.org, they use ACT Academy, which is a similar approach. It's personalized practice. These are free services. If you're taking the PERT for placement at Polk State's website, they have a link for practice on their website. There's a lot of books and online classes that you can take for practice. You can even go to a private learning center. If you Google test prep, you'll find a lot of different choices out there. Who should I send the scores to, and when should I send them? My advice to juniors is always use Polk State College as one of the 4 colleges that you're going to have your free score sent to. You get 4 colleges that you get to send scores to for free when you sign up to take the ACT or the SAT. Now, if you're very confident, go ahead and list 3 other colleges that you know you're going to apply to. And the reason is, after the test, if you decide you want to send those scores to those colleges, you're going to have to pay $12 per school. You'll have to pay the testing company $12 for each score they send to a college. So take advantage of the opportunity to send 4 test scores for free if you're confident that you're going to do well on that test. Colleges and universities require that the test scores are sent directly from the testing company. So this is not something that the high school sends. It's something that's going to come straight from SAT or ACT. How can test strategies help? Well, test strategies can make the difference sometimes in your test scores. Remember, these tests are timed. So you want to make sure that you are practicing in real test taking conditions, that you're setting a timer. There's other strategies such as never leaving anything blank, because both ACT and the SAT will penalize you for leaving blank answers. So you can't go wrong by guessing. A lot of people will say, hey, pick the same letter when you're guessing, because that increases the odds of getting at least 25% of the ones that you guessed right. Many times the answers to questions that you don't know come to you by the end of the test. So always go back and try and answer the ones that you didn't know the answer to in the beginning. College applications. It's always best when you're going through this process to have an area where you keep everything in one place. Also, make sure all the passwords that you have, you can access them electronically. And have a calendar, know all of your deadlines, and know all of the requirements for every application. If you have any questions about the application, call the college directly. They're there to help you. Never be afraid to call and ask that college directly. If you need help from a counselor, you can email them, or if you're at Summerlin, you can text on Remind, and counselors will help you. But the college is going to give you specific information. Transcripts are usually required by colleges for admissions. We're going to need you to request a transcript from the guidance office before we can send a transcript to a college for you. At this time, we're also doing that electronically. So check with your counselor and find out how can you request a transcript. Please don't wait until the day before you need it. We need a few days in advance. Some schools, usually the state schools, we can send them electronically. When we send them, they usually have them the next day. Other schools, particularly private schools, we have to mail them, and of course that can take a few days. And we do need to make sure that you give us the mailing address for the college that you need the transcript for. We want to remind you that on your transcript on the last page is your current schedule. When you apply to college, they're going to see your entire high school history as well as what you're currently taking. If you ask to come out of AP Lit and a college has already made their decision on your admission based on your transcript and your current schedule, when we send the final transcript and they see that you've come out of AP Lit and gone into English regular, they could rescind your admission. So make sure that you remember that the college is using your current schedule as well as your transcript in determining admissions, and any change between the time that you admit and the time that the final transcript comes could have a consequence for your admission status. This goes for your grades as well. If you've always been an A and B student, but your senior year you make C's and D's, you could also put yourself at risk of either being on probation or having your admission rescinded. Some of you are athletes and you need to know about NCAA. They're very specific. You want to go on their website and you want to make sure you understand if you're looking to be recruited by D1 or D2 school, you plan to play sports at a school like that. They have very specific criteria, very specific courses that you have to take. Your final transcript. You're going to tell us before graduation, sometime in May, where you want us to send your final transcript. Your dual enrollment transcripts are going to come straight from the college. So if you've had a dual enrollment class at Polk or Southeastern or Travis, you're going to get them to send the transcript to your college. There's going to be a charge for that. We send them free from the high school, but to get the credit from that college, it has to come from the college. If you've made a 3 or higher on an AP exam, most colleges are going to give you a college credit for that. You're going to have to request AP send that to the school that you go to. You'll go to collegeboard.org for that. Sometime in the summer, like at the end of the summer, we'll no longer be able to give you your transcript from the school. You'll then have to go to the Polk County School website, in the search box, just put in transcript and it'll take you to a very quick and easy page where you can request a transcript be sent somewhere. Graduation requirements. Bartow Senior High and Summerlin Academy get the same diploma. If you go to Summerlin Academy, you can get an additional honorary diploma, and that will be for the additions that they require, such as ROTC, your language, and your summer reading assignments and other things. So what is required for your diploma? 4 years of English, 4 years of math, including Algebra 1 and Geometry, 3 years of social studies, including world history, U.S. history, a semester of economics, and a semester of government. 3 years of science, one of which will be biology, 8 elective classes, including HOPE. Now, if you have 2 years of JROTC or band, that's going to waive the need for HOPE, and it's also going to waive the need for performing fine arts. You have to have an unweighted GPA of 2.0. Your senior responsibilities. You need to know your SSR. That's your student scholastic record. You'll get one at your senior conference, but it's also visible on Student Portal. This is really important, especially if you are a transfer student or you've taken a lot of online classes. Your counselors are very diligent in making sure that your transcript is kept up to date, but it's also your responsibility. So please make sure that you've looked over your SSR and you see that it is accurate, in particular before you send off something to a college for admissions. You must make sure you have your 75 community service hours, minimum 75 community service hours turned in by December, like mid-December, if you're applying for the PEF scholarships, because at least 75 community service hours must be on your transcript to apply for those scholarships. A lot of students try to get the white cord at graduation, and that's for earning 250 community service hours. We need to have all your final hours turned in by April 15th. Online classes must be finished by May 1st. We have to have time for them to finalize that, put it in the transcript, and send that transcript to us, and we have to put that in your high school transcript. So all online classes must be finished by May 1st. You need to know your own deadlines for post-graduation plans. We tell you, have all your applications in by November 1st, but you need to be really sure that you've checked everywhere that you're applying and you know the deadlines. Testing is your responsibility. The ACT and the SAT test, you're going to sign up for, and you're going to get yourself to that test, and that is your responsibility. We will give you a lot of information about the test, but taking the test is your job. Make sure you stay connected to your guidance department. Any questions that you have, ask your counselor, and she will give you or he will give you the best information that they have. So, as we close, we want to make sure that you understand our suggestions are for post-secondary planning. You don't get stuck on one plan. Have options. Be prepared for more than one thing. Always double check your dates and your deadlines. Make copies of everything. Keep all your electronic files on a cloud device such as Google or OneDrive. You can also email things to yourself. Flash drives break. Computers crash. So have something in a permanent way to access it. Use a professional and appropriate sounding email address for your college applications. Don't use your Polk County School address, your Polk County School email address, because it's going to expire. And use only one email so that you don't get confused and miss an email. Stay on track all year. There's a lot to do in your senior year and a lot to keep track of. Your counselors are going to continue to give you reminders about things to do to finish your senior year and also about things to do to plan for post-secondary goals. Make sure that you are reading your messages from your counselor so that they can help keep you on track. When you have a problem, make sure you let them know right away before the problem gets too big. There's no problem we haven't had before, and there's no problem that can't be solved if we work together. So make sure you stay in touch with your counselor and let us know of anything that you need, or any time that you get stuck, or any time that you get frustrated or overwhelmed. We're here to help you. I hope this presentation has helped you with your post-secondary planning, and give us some feedback. Let us know how it helped, and have a great senior year.